Hello, everybody. Today's review is going to be of a movie from a few years ago called Shotgun Wedding. Uh, I was kind of back and forth on my rating with this one, but then the end of the movie bumped it up one for me. So I gave this a 6 out of 10. Now, it wasn't by by any means like the greatest movie I've ever seen, for sure, but it it did have its moments, like the it did have its comedic moments, I would say. So I feel like this kind of idea has been done before, where, the whole wedding scene with like a group of people come in and hold somebody for ransom, but, I don't think it's ever really been done with like a comedic element before that I can really remember. Um, if I'm mistaken, forgive me, because I've seen so many movies in my time that it's sometimes they just blend together, and sometimes I forget certain things that happen. But so this one, I don't really understand why they called it Shotgun Wedding, other than the fact that some of the pirates had shotguns that came onto the island. I was expecting a totally different movie, and then all of a sudden, when the pirates showed up, I was like, okay, this took a twist I was not ready for at all. And I guess they were trying to hold her dad ransom for the amount of money that he had. Um, like Jennifer Lopez's Darcy played Darcy Riviera, so her father. They're trying to hold him ransom for all of his money, and well, not all of it, I guess, just a particular amount. Not really sure why they wouldn't try to hold him for all of his money. Of course, he wasn't going to give any money up unless he knew that his daughter was safe. So let's go over the cast list, because holy crap, did this have a huge cast in this. We had a huge cast in this movie, and it seemed like everybody. Again, this is one of those movies where no matter what, everybody kind of played an important role, even though it was like a huge cast. Even if their role was small, it seemed like they were there throughout the entire movie. So yeah, Jennifer Lopez, who played Darcy Riviera, Josh Duhamel, who played Tom Fowler, Lenny Kravitz, who played Sean Hawkins, Jennifer Coolidge, who played Carol Fowler, Sonia Braga, who played Renita Ortiz, who I believe was supposed to be Darcy's grandmother, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it her mom? It might have been her mom. I can't. It was either her grandmother or her mom. I can't remember exactly. Forgive me for that, but it's funny that I can't remember because I just watched the movie. But yeah, it was one of those two. It must have been her mother, because I think that her parents were, yeah, her parents were divorced. So I'm guessing it was her mom. Yeah, I guess that would make more sense with the movie anyway. Um, Cheech Marin, who played Robert Rivera, so obviously Darcy's dad. Um, I guess it would make sense that if they were divorced, she would have taken, yeah, her mom would have taken her maiden name back, right? Steve Coulter, who played Larry Fowler. Oh, so that would be Tom's mom and dad, right? That makes more sense. D'Arcy Carden, who played Harriet. Callie Hernandez, who played Jamie Rivera, who was Darcy's sister. Desmond Borgs, who played Ricky Silver. Selena Tan, who played Margie. She was like I guess, like the wedding planner sort of thing that was on, or the owner of the island, maybe. One of those two, and I guess obviously her and Tom were talking back and forth, and come to find out that he actually knew about the pirates who had been there, I guess, a year prior, but they had just taken whatever they wanted, and they were in and out in like 20 minutes. So kind of crazy that he knew and still decided that they were going to go to this island in the Philippines. So it was Mahal Island Resort in the Philippines is where they were supposed to get married. And yeah, it was just, that was probably one of the funny moments, right? Is that he knew and he still decided that this was a good place to have a wedding, knowing that it was like a zone where pirates could potentially come in again. So it was just like, what a ridiculous thing to do, right? Without without letting anybody else know that was a potential threat, and continuing on with the wedding. Alberto Isaac, who played Ace, and then Melissa Hunter, who played Janine. So, again, big cast list, and everybody kind of played like a small role. So I thought it was, necessary to name everybody at least. And then, of course, we had the pirates, but I wouldn't really say I mean, they were there, but it would have been, oh my god, it would have been so many more people to name, trying to name all the actors who played the pirates. But anyhow, that was basically like the main cast, I would say, was the ones that they showed the most. So, of course, again, I will say this movie did have its moments, like the whole ziplining scene where they're flying down and then she is hanging onto the grenade that is active for that long. Like, it was kind of like ridiculous humor, and some of it was obviously like slapstick, but the action sequences in this movie had no business being as good as they were for a movie that was supposed to be kind of like a comedy, I guess. Like, I guess it was action comedy, essentially. It kind of reminded me, it was kind of gave me like similar vibes to, oh my god, what was the one with Channing Tatum, Brad Pitt, and oh my god, why can't I think of her name now? Uh, I can't for the life of me think of the name of the movie now, but that's gonna bug me. Anyhow, it kind of reminded me. It was kind of similar to that. Oh God. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It gave me a similar vibe to that movie. If you can remember the name of the movie, I guess kudos to you because I can't think of it right now. Was it The Lost City? I think it was The Lost City, but I can't think of the girl's name that was in the movie. That's gonna bug me because I should know who it is. Anyhow, it kind of gave me similar vibes to that, but instead of, like a kind of like, I guess, they fall in love scenario in that movie, it was more like they were, trying to do a wedding. And of course, Darcy said she never really wanted the big wedding sort of thing, and they get into this huge fight when the pirates are coming onto the island. And then, of course, the pirates take everybody else hostage, and her ex was actually invited to the wedding by her father, I do believe, or her father was the one that asked her to invite him. So he shows up, and of course, that just makes things awkward, obviously, because it's your ex. Why would you be? Why would your father even want your ex there? I guess it's because he's not a big fan of Tom, because I guess Tom is a pretty big worrier from what I've gathered throughout the movie, and he is always trying to make things perfect and always trying to please and so on and so forth. And eventually, he just uh, does too much, and her father actually does start to despise him a little bit, I guess, for trying to always be, the goody two shoes or trying to prove himself a little too much. You can overdo it. I get it. You want to be a good person and show that you're good, but there is there is a limit to how good you could be, and if you're trying too hard, it makes it look like you have something to hide, I guess. Essentially, would be probably the way her father was thinking. That's the way I would think, anyway. Um, so yeah, I guess maybe he thought that her ex Sean was a better suit for her. And she says that when they were together, they were young, and she decided that she didn't really want to be in that kind of a committed relationship, which I understand. When you're young, you don't really know exactly what you want. Your first relationship probably isn't going to be the one you end up uh, having for a very long time. Not to say that it can't work, because certain people do make it work, but it didn't necessarily work for me, my first serious relationship. So I understand, you kind of live and learn, I guess. But there was kind of a valuable lesson in this movie too. Uh, oh my god, I had the point in my head, but um, I'm sure it'll come to me eventually. Anyhow, yeah, again, the action sequences, like I just couldn't believe. And then, of course, Carol at the very end of the movie, just pointing the gun at the pirates and saying, "Nobody fucks with my family," and she just became like an absolute badass at the end. Now, I will say they did do the action sequences pretty well, where it kind of looked like it was almost like somewhat of a fumble for them, because I'm pretty sure Tom's character, from what I gathered, was a baseball player. Now, I'm not 100% sure, because I don't really think they touched on it much at the very beginning of the movie, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, I think I think he must have been a baseball player, because she brings it up quite a few times, and then he does when he bats the grenade. So yeah, I believe he was a baseball player. He must have been Now, what was he, a pitcher, or was he a? I guess if you're a pitcher, technically you're up to bat too, right? Depending on what your coach wants. Yeah, because even in the World Series this year, there were pitchers that were up to bat. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. Um, yeah, so I guess he could have played both roles technically. He definitely knew how to bat the grenade into the guy, and then at the very end, when he blows him up, I was like, okay, these action sequences are like top notch. Like, who put these explosions together? And then of course they light off all the fireworks and so on and so forth. And their planning was pretty good for being captured by pirates, like trying to get the wedding going, and then fooling the pirates, obviously, and then they had to get off of the island somehow. And of course, Sean ended up being the one behind everything, which became obvious. I guess the pirates weren't Filipino, so the people that were Margie and her husband Ace, I guess, noticed that it wasn't the same language that they spoke. So, of course, then Tom decides to kind of play the hero and go out and out Sean for being behind it all. And then, without even knowing, of course, Robert, her father, who I believe was supposed to be, yeah, I guess his new girlfriend was Harriet. And of course, Harriet's already with Sean, right? So she's just duping him into the plan, right? Like, that was all part of the plan. And then they get away with all of his money. And when they try to go back, it ends horribly for them. Sean gets sucked into the propeller of the helicopter, and then the helicopter goes down. And I believe Harriet and Sean are no more after that. Let's just say that much, because you ain't living through that. That's for sure. So yeah, it was kind of ironic that they weren't meaning to kill anybody, and just the way they reacted to it was obviously comedic too, right? Like, her fear of blood, and the fact that they were like, is he dead? And they're like trying to see if he's alive. I was expecting a jump scare to the first guy, and then nothing ever became of that, obviously. So yeah, this movie did have its moments. Some of the comedy felt a little forced, and I didn't really feel like, unfortunately, for what it was, Jennifer Lopez and Josh Jamal just didn't have maybe the best on-screen chemistry for this film. Sometimes it felt like they weren't really working that well together. And again, some of the scenes kind of felt a little forced, like they were trying to add extra lines, or maybe they were ad-libbing some other stuff. I'm not really sure, but yeah, some of it just seemed a little over the top for what it was. That's just my opinion. But other than that, I thought, this is one of those movies you could probably watch a couple of times and go, you could get a few laughs out of it anyway. That's for sure. But yeah, I guess I've kind of explained everything I can, and I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.